All right, so of course we see a scenario. We see what's happening right now.
Okay.
And it says Roxy and Shia are looking at the dodos because remember last time they spotted them.
That's right. That's what they were doing when we left them last time. So they're looking at these dodos, these large flightless birds that live on the island of Mauritius. And Shia begins the dialogue by saying, "These birds are quite large and slow." Very good observation, Shia. And that was, of course, part of the reason that they were so easy to hunt. They were large and slow. Kind of like me.
Like me too.
Well,
I'm small and slow.
I won't hunt you though.
Okay. All right. So next, Roxy says, yes, but nothing on Mauritius eats them. There are no snakes, no cats, and no large insects. Oh, no wonder they just don't do anything because there's nothing to harm them. They don't feel scared. So they just sit around and just do nothing.
That's right. And that was also the reason they didn't sort of run away from people because they had no reason to be afraid. There were no big animals that ate them. So they were just like, what do you want? Dunk.
Oops. And so, for example, we see that they didn't have any snakes on the island. And here, it's also our word power word. It's spelled S-N-A-K-E.
Where?
Snake. Snake. Snake.
Where?
There.
Ah!
Now, a snake is a noun and it's an animal with a long, thin body. It doesn't have any arms and legs and it moves around on its belly and we call it slithers on the ground. Let's take a look at our sample sentence. It says, be careful when you hike in this area. Many snakes live here. Be careful when you hike in this area. Many snakes live here.
And we have another word, power word, that is the word insect. This is a noun and it's spelled I-N-S-E-C-T. Insect.
I don't like insects.
No. What is an insect? An insect is a very large family of animals that we talk about. Insects basically will have 3 different things that you will look for. They will have 6 legs. That's definitely what you want to look for. They have an outer shell, an outer hard body, an exoskeleton. And they generally have 3 body parts, the head, the thorax, and the abdomen. So if you're thinking of a lion, no, lions don't have 6 legs. If you're thinking of a shark, come on. Sharks don't even have 2 legs. But if you're thinking of a mosquito, a bee, an ant, a fly, a cockroach, these are all types of insects. The spider, of course, is not an insect. It has 8 legs and 2 body parts. But insects are small. There's billions and billions of them, and people are kind of okay with them unless they go on your face or in your food, in which case we don't like them. But anyways, let's look at our example sentence. Michelle doesn't like insects. She hates cockroaches most of all. Michelle doesn't like insects. She hates cockroaches most of all. But butterflies are okay.
Oh, okay. So the dodos, they didn't really have any, they weren't afraid of too many things because there was nothing to be afraid of. And so that's why Shia asks, so what happened to them all? And of course, he's talking about the dodo birds.
That's right. What happened to make them extinct? Who came along and killed all of the dodos? And Roxy says sailors from Portugal came in 1507 and killed many dodos for food. Oh, there you go. I thought it was from France, but I guess, yeah, that would have been later. But Portugal, of course, was a seafaring nation, a country that used boats to explore large parts of the world back in the 16th century. And they arrived and they said, wow, we're really hungry. Look at all those great birds. Boom, boom, boom. And killed
and
a lot of
anything.
dodo. No, but I guess the Portuguese sailors ate well. Yeah. And sailors, like many other people, do like to eat well. Sailor is spelled S-A-I-L-O-R. Sailor. Sailor, this is a noun, and it's basically a job or a type of person. We talk about a sailor as being someone who works on a ship. That's about it. They work on a ship. They might work on a boat too. They might have a job from being a captain or a navigator to someone who fixes the machines or basically anything like that. But if your job is working on a ship, you are a sailor. Even if you're in the Navy, if you're doing it, for like the fighting forces, the military forces, sailors, of course, work on warships and they work on many other types of ships as well. For example, my grandfather was a sailor and visited many countries in his life. My grandfather was a sailor and visited many countries in his life. His name was not Popeye.
Okay, so we learned that first the Portuguese or people from Portugal came here.
Yes.
And then Roxy also continues to say later the Dutch, okay, people from the Netherlands use Mauritius as a prison.
Really?
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
A prison is just basically, a building or a place where the bad guys are kept because they keep the bad guys there because they did something bad and it's a punishment for them. And prisons are also known as jails as well.
That's right, yes. And when people commit crimes, they put them in prisons. And yeah, hundreds of years ago, when it was hard to travel around, often they put them on a boat and sent them to a whole island, right? So the French used Mauritius as a prison. Famously, the British used Australia as a prison and would send people off there. But of course, now we build prisons. They're like castles or forts or something like that. And we lock everyone inside behind walls and bars and things like that. Anyway, back to Shaya. Shaya's wondering about the French being on Mauritius, and Shaya says, did they kill and eat dodos too?
Actually, I think they did because
So,
Roxy says yes, and they also introduced rats, pigs, and monkeys. So remember, at first on the island there was nothing there to kind of scare the dodos, but now the French came and not only did they eat the dodos, but they also brought other animals too, like pigs, rats, and monkeys. And maybe these animals kind of scared the dodos.
That's right. These were other animals that would eat dodos, or more specifically, as Roxy says, these animals ate dodos' eggs as well. So of course, if the eggs are being eaten, there are no future dodos. A similar thing happened in New Zealand, right? There used to be a lot of birds in New Zealand. They would make their nests on the ground because nothing ate them. And then I think British sailors introduced cats, right? Cats would escape off the boat and find all these wonderful, delicious eggs. Unfortunately, many little birds in New Zealand went extinct that way too. So often humans do this. We think, that's no big deal. It's just a rat, it just escaped. But it could have a huge effect on the local animals if they've never seen one of those before.
Poor dodos, no wonder.
Tough life.
Yeah, and that's why Shaya says, no wonder we say, we learned about this before, as dead as a dodo. So this is a saying, it's a really popular saying as well, which we will get into later. But he says, no wonder. Now, no wonder is just a phrase, and it just means, oh, I get it, or oh, that's why. And we say this when you don't know something and then you kind of figure it out and you solve it and you're like, that's why something like that happens.
You're making that connection in your brain and the light bulb goes off. Oh, no wonder, now I get it. Magic box time, right?
That's right. We're going to learn about things like as dead as a dodo, or, have you heard of as busy as a bee?
As busy as a bee, I've heard that one.
But maybe you guys haven't, so let's take a look at our magic box to learn more.